Alright, so I have this clown commented on one of my videos on my other channel. Go check it out on Retention Lifestyle. He basically comments, "Hello. So I don't want this to come off as rude, but I am not sure how else to put it." He says I am sex positive. I think the P Hub is fine, and obviously children should not be viewing it. I agree with that. Now, him saying this alone, this sentence right here, I agree with that. Children should not be having any access whatsoever to adult content. But this is a part where he starts to lose me. He goes on to say the same way people feel about P and children being exposed to it is how I feel about children being exposed to religious views. Now, a child who is brought up in a religious family has nothing to do, and it's not really the same thing as to a child being exposed to adult content. Now, if you choose to practice any religion at all, that's up to you. That's more power to you. I don't think religion at all should be forced on anybody. A child who is brought up in a religious home, they really have no choice but to be brought up in a religious family. If you're Muslim and your parents practice, things that Muslims would practice, most likely your child is going to practice those same things. You see, a child having to practice religion in his family is not detrimental to the child at all. Because one thing about religious people, and we can have a lot of negative to say about religious folks. One thing I will give them credit for is that they have structure, okay, in what they teach and how they raise and how they bring up their children and how they raise their families. They remain to have structure, and they want their child. Now, the child could grow up and deter himself, steer away from, from his family's religious views, right? He can steer off and just not be religious anymore. That's up to him and what he wants for his life. I don't think it's a bad thing for a child to be brought up in a religious family. You see, it's nothing compared to a child being exposed to adult content. And we're talking about ages 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, children, teenagers, around those ages. When you're in elementary school, middle school, high school, whatever. It has proven to be detrimental to the health of young men. Watching adult content has proven to be a detriment to the health of young men. It messes up your brain chemistry. You start to become hormonally imbalanced. You lose focus. You cannot concentrate. And your mind is constantly thinking about sex all day. You're constantly thinking about, what you would do to a woman, looking at women objectively, objectifying women. You cannot hold a conversation. You cannot hold a conversation with a woman without staring at her breast or just checking out her body. Now, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with checking out a woman's body. Don't get it wrong now. But don't always come into the attention with trying to get laid when you're talking to a female. Learn just to have a normal conversation. You know, she's a human being just like you are. You know? And see, this is what adult content has taught a lot of us of how we should look at women. And we should just look at them as objects, as playthings, and not actual human beings. You know? And this is very detrimental to a young man's mind. And this is what they're being trained to think. You see, in a household, you can teach a child to be religious. I would rather have parents teach their children how to be religious than to be teaching their child and showing them things on the internet and exposing them to things on the internet that will lead to them thinking very objectively about women and only looking at women as sexual objects and nothing more. That to me is more dangerous. That to me can lead a man in years and years of doing time. You see, a man being controlled by his lust is very dangerous. A man controlled by his lust will lead that man into a life of poverty, of shame, guilt, regret. So, I'd rather have a child raised up in a religious home. Because when they get older, they can decide for themselves if they want to keep practicing that religion that their parents put on them. So let's move on. He went on to say, everything you said about P, I believe religion does that exact same thing. Brainwashing people and everything else you said about being stupid, all that. Okay, you might have to go back to grammar school for that one, because I can't even read that sentence. Bro got to work on his grammar over here. Yes, I believe that watching adult content is brainwashing to a lot of children and to a lot of men. But with religion, it's a different type of brainwashing. We're talking about a type of brainwashing that is going to limit a man's capabilities. That's going to, make men weak. We're talking about the type of brainwashing that destroys men's lives. Okay? We're talking about the type of brainwashing that's going to make a man poor. We're talking about the type of brainwashing that's going to just fuck up a man's mental health and change their brain chemistry. Religious brainwashing, to me, in my opinion, is not as bad. It's not as bad as the type of brainwashing you will receive when you consume adult content. That's just my opinion. It's not as detriment. So he went on to say, I watch the P every day. Okay, someone who watches the P every day, you're bound to like I say, look at women as sexual objects. You're bound to go through a lot of brain fog. Don't try to do anything that requires a lot of mental focus, because let me tell you something, man. You try to do anything that's going to require a lot of mental focus, you will lose focus very, very fast. And you will not have any mental energy to fulfill or complete any task that requires a lot of your mental energy, requires a lot of brain functioning, right? That requires a lot of concentration. Because when you're constantly viewing that stuff every day, you're killing your focus. You will have low mental energy to where you cannot perform the way you're supposed to. And you're only destroying your brain cells, man. You're only destroying your brain cells. You're only causing further damage. And he says, I have no problem talking to anyone, especially not women. But for a lot of men, and a lot of men can probably attest to this, that, yeah, when you're talking to a lady and you're trying to get with her, but at the same time, you're still watching the pee, right? It's causing you to be very guilty of what you watched, feeling shameful. Well, let me tell you something. You're going to carry that guilt, that shame into a conversation with a woman, and you're expected to get with her. You're expected to, get her in the bed with you and hook up and, you know what I'm saying, go crazy. There's this thing called erectile dysfunction, and that seems to be very prevalent when it comes to men's health, right? When you're going through something like that of erectile dysfunction, you do realize that you're not going to perform well in bed with this female. And when you can't perform well and she sees that you can't perform well, you're going to be very embarrassed. Very, very embarrassed to find out you cannot perform, you can't get it up. Because all the content you watched, it caused you to have erectile dysfunction. It actually shrunk your penis. Your penis became shrunk by watching all that adult content. Because you've been trained to only get hard for a screen, for a pixel, for a video. But when you're about to do the real thing with a real woman, you can't get it up. You can't get it up because you didn't have that experience. You didn't have that experience with a real woman. You understand? So when you're talking to women and you're watching adult content every day, this is your addiction, I doubt a lot of men are going to find success with women and get them into the bedroom. Because your brain is still hooked on the instant dopamine rush that it gets from watching the P-Hub. So now, where's all that dopamine going when you're with this woman? Where's the reward? There's not going to be no reward. There's not going to be no instant dopamine rush when you're with this woman in real time. And she's in your bed and you cannot get it up. That's going to be very detrimental. That's down bad, man. That's down bad. And that's a position I don't want to be in as a man. I don't want to be in that position. I can guarantee you that guy This guy that commented on the video, I can guarantee you that he is going through exactly what I'm talking about right now, erectile dysfunction. Let's continue. So he goes on to say, he says, I go to a swingers club and a place called a dungeon. A dungeon, huh? I wonder what goes on in the dungeons that he goes to. And then he says, I talk to women all the time, even at normal, quote unquote, normal places. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. He says, I watch the P basically every day. So this is a full-blown addict, right? He says he watches it every single day. Full-blown addict, can't quit, has no discipline. Probably jacks off 5 times a day, who knows? And oh Lord. So he goes on to say that he masturbates on Christmas just for fun. You see, I didn't really need to know all that. You feel me? Like, you type this long paragraph, right? This guy types this long paragraph because he probably got in his feelings because I had said that, listen, this adult content, man, should be banned, right? He probably got in his feelings because, you know, he watches it every day. So he had to get offended when someone like me was saying it should be banned. Nobody should be able to access it, right? Because then he'll miss watching his favorite BBW. He'll miss watching his favorite P-Hub scene. If it's banned for good, he cannot gain no access to it, and that means he loses out on all the dopamine hits and the instant gratification. He loses all access to it, right? So I was basically, just to, basically analyze his comment here. I basically was trying to destroy his little fantasy, right? Destroy his fun, right? That's what I was doing. So I didn't need to know that you jack off on Christmas for fun. Okay, that's very disgusting. That's nasty. That's pathetic. That's weak. You're a weak male. Right? That's too much info. But let's continue. He goes on to say, this has literally never once affected my social skills or aura. That's debatable. That's debatable. I would argue that one. He says, it literally never once affected my social skills or aura. Wow. Yeah, I find that very debatable, sir. He says that the P-Hub absolutely seems to have... Oh, okay, so this is when... Okay, so this is when he decides to take a shot at me, right? This is when he decides to take a shot at me. He says, the P-Hub absolutely seems to have affected you in all these ways. Right? So he wants to take a shot at me. Passive aggressively, right? I can guarantee you, and he's not going to say this, but I guarantee you that the adult content has affected him in so many ways that are negative, right? The same ways that it affected you guys that are trying to quit, that are trying to lead a better lifestyle, lead on better habits for yourself. Y'all can probably co-sign what I'm saying here, right? The P-Hub has definitely affected you guys in a lot of negative ways. And there's stories. There's testimonies right? There's, you know, Reddit groups of people, with these no-fap communities talking about how the P-Hub has destroyed them, how it has affected their life negatively, right? How it just destroyed their confidence and it ruined their life, right? It zapped them of all their energy. But this guy is basically claiming that, this has no effect on him whatsoever, right? He thinks he's just immune from the negative effects of watching the P-Hub, right? And I will be honest, it has affected me in all these ways that I've described, right? Otherwise, I wouldn't be speaking on this if it hadn't, right? But you see, one thing I've learned is that some people are just bots. I hate to use that word, but it's the truth. A lot of people are just NPCs, and they don't see the error of their ways. They're too brainwashed, and this is what I'm talking about, brainwashed. This guy's obviously come across as brainwashed. He's most likely, what's the word I'm looking for? Desensitized to this content. Desensitized to a point where he thinks it's not affecting his life. And to me, that's scary. When you think something that's so dangerous, right? And you claiming that it doesn't affect you on a negative level. Like, you think you're fine, you think you can just go about your life in a normal way, that you can just, have these awesome social skills, have this amazing aura, and still watch the P-Hub. Nah, man. I'm led to believe that you're delusional. And you're uninformed of the true dangers of watching the P-Hub. I mean, we've seen millions and millions of videos of people just breaking down the dangers of watching adult content. There's tons of research on the internet. Tons of statistics of men's lives being ruined. And we talk about how it impacts your brain in a negative light. Destroying all the gray matter in your brain. Like, your brain is literally shrinking. Not literally shrinking, but figuratively shrinking. Meaning you're losing all the gray matter out of your brain. You're killing off your cells. You have you have no ability to concentrate or focus for a long period of time. Your attention span is cut short. And it creates so much brain fog. Okay? You see, for me, when I was binge watching the P-Hub, and I didn't even have to jack off, right? Without even jacking off, just binge watching certain scenes that got me turned on, but I had so much self-control not to jack off, right? Because I was kind of on that level, right? But after 30 minutes to an hour of binge watching that content, I became so zapped. I became very exhausted and drained. I remember being so drained. Like, I couldn't even focus. I couldn't even get myself back together. Like, I couldn't get my wits together. Like, I was just tired. I want to go to bed. Like, I had other stuff to do that day, and I just wanted to lay back down, man, because my brain was so foggy that I couldn't just go about my day how I was supposed to. It literally got cut short because I decided to chase instant gratification, right? I decided to binge watch. And this is what I'm saying, man. Like, some people are just lost sheep, right? He goes on to say, but to say we should ban it and claim everyone feels like this from watching the P-Hub is ignorant. All right. So this is where he says that we are ignorant if we think that, you know, the P-Hub should be banned. We're all ignorant. No, sir. You are ignorant. You're the brainwashed one. You are clearly desensitized to this content to a point where you cannot see how much this is affecting you negatively and what damage is being done to your brain. You see, some guys are just in delusion. They're in delusion. They're in denial. They cannot see what's being done to their brain. If they can only see what's being done to their brain and just changes in how they live and how they talk and speak and how they carry themselves. Like, I hate to say it, guys, but you're going to be carrying yourself like a bitch. I'm telling you right now. Y'all going to be carrying yourselves like a bunch of bitches. If you keep on watching this content, man, you're going to have bitch energy. You're going to have bitch energy. My bad for stuttering. But y'all going to have bitch energy. You are. Life is going to grab you by the balls and you ain't going to know what to do. That's why it's important for y'all to practice no fat, practice semen retention so that you can live your life and grab life by the balls. When life challenges you, when life puts you through obstacles, when you're being put through, you know, bad seasons, like, you need that energy in you. And you need that focus, that concentration, that tunnel vision focus to navigate through this world and to get to the next level. And by watching this adult content, you're not going to get to the next level. I can tell you that right now. You're not going to get to the next level. Y'all gonna be just like this guy in this image, man. Chained up to his computer, chained up to his pixels, chained up to the P-Hub. Do y'all want to end up just like this guy right here? Chained up, a slave to his lust. This guy right here in the image is a slave to his lust. He's a slave to pleasure. This guy in the comment section, he's this guy right here in the image. Perfect example. That's a guy who is chained to his own lust. And then he ends off this long paragraph by saying that, I hope you find yourself. But I don't think telling others what to do is going to help you with that. So this guy is coming across very passive aggressive, right? Clearly he's in delusion, in denial. He's trying to tell me that I should go ahead and find myself, right? Funny, very funny, right? And that me telling people what to do is you know, not going to help me with that, right? Listen, I'm not telling nobody what to do with their life at all. You can do what you want to do as you please. If you want to go ahead and, you know, sacrifice your sexual energy for pleasure and for short-term pleasure, then fine, go ahead, be my guest. Do what y'all want to do. I'm not in control of nobody's life. I'm only focused on being in control of my life and my life only, right? Because only I can control what I do with my time. Only I can control where I'm headed in life, right? It's been a process. to find myself. But I had to let go of some things, detrimental things, in order to find myself. I had to let go of smoking, let go of occasional drinking. I don't really drink like that anymore. And let go of the P-hub. Let go of the addiction. Let go of the lust to find myself. Sacrifice masturbation. You see, as a man, when you let go of things that hold you back, that keep a chain on you, like this guy right here, he has a chain on him from his own lust. When you have a chain on yourself from your own addictions, you cannot find yourself because you have not broken free from these chains. And all I can really do, even though this guy is a clown and he's in his feelings and stuff like that, people like him, man, they need the Most High. They need God in their life. And I suggest that he go find God, go immerse himself in Scripture, and read his Bible. Because more than ever, this guy needs the Lord to save him, to renew his mind, to, transform himself, and just be on a righteous path. This is like the first comment that I ever gotten to where somebody actually, is proud of their addiction, that is proud to watch the P-hub every single day, and they feel no negative effects whatsoever. But to the rest of you guys that are listening, that stayed throughout this entire video, I know I've kind of rambled on a lot. I'm not used to making these type of videos and stuff, but I hope you guys realize that I'm not making this video to attack anybody or to tell anybody what to do. I'm here to bring awareness, awareness of how dangerous this stuff really is, man. I know for sure because I was addicted. I was an addict at one point. It took a lot for me to change. It took a lot for me to get out of the addiction, to break free. And I'm here to tell y'all, if y'all still chained up like this guy right here, you have a chance to be free. You have a chance to break yourself from these addiction. You have a chance. You have to just take that chance and fight. You have to want to break the chains and go seek the Most High. Because only he can free you from these chains, man. That's it. Only he can cast judgment on you. But I believe that the Lord used me today to cast judgment on this guy right here. To break down his comment. To expose, this NPC. For his disgusting and vile ways. I'm convinced that this guy is probably an animal, but what do I know, right? Hopefully the Most High, hopefully the Most High comes into his life and, saves him, So that being said, man, thank y'all for watching, for listening. Stay away from the P-hub, man. Stay away from it. But I still stand on what I said, that this should be banned for good. And I'm not going back on my word. So with that being said, thank y'all for watching, and God bless every single one of y'all. I'm out, man. Peace.